Welcome to the I Didn't Know What the Fuck I Was Doing podcast.
We're your hosts, Teresa
and David.
This is the podcast with two ADHD entrepreneurs who jumped into uncertain territory
and made lots of unpleasant mistakes along the way.
We were able to figure out what we're actually passionate about.
And we are here to help you do the same.
Each week, we will release 2 episodes discussing how we navigate our businesses, relationships, and health,
as well as interview excellent guests who share their own personal IDKWTF stories.
Listen today so you can hear some relatable content
as we normalize uncertainty in business and in life.
Because it's important to admit that no one really knows
what the fuck they're doing. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Another episode. Is this another episode?
This is part 2 of IDKWTF, and we're talking about friends.
Friends and relationships. I guess friends. Just friends. Acquaintances.
Mostly friends.
Colleagues.
Friendships. Colleagues,
social interaction.
Or lack thereof, or wanting social interaction or not.
That thing healthy humans should do.
Yes, it's actually a stress thing. We're going to have a whole nother podcast about this, but connection. I didn't talk about this at all in the last one, but like connection with humans is like vital to our survival. They're like an infant with no connection, even if their basic needs are met.
Yeah.
But has no human connection will die.
Really? Okay. Just saying what you're telling me is The Matrix was a lie.
Yes.
The movie, because they were in their own little pods.
If that's the thing that makes you realize then The Matrix was a lie.
Everything else about it almost factually true.
There are moments where it's like, are we in a video game?
Yeah.
Like there's...
And simulation theory is gaining more and more traction. This is all a simulation. You guys are all NPCs. Yeah.
Okay, friendships? Yes. We're going to talk about how to make friends as an adult, because like as a kid you play on the playground. Every time I take my kids to the playground, now they're a little older, not as much, but like younger, or my youngest she's 8, she makes a new best friend like every time. If we go to the park for 2 hours, almost always, Mom, can you get so-and-so's mom's phone number so we can play again? Like,
what grade is an 8-year-old in? Or are they in
third grade?
Third grade.
So like, I feel like that's the right age, like first, second, third, where they connect with people on the playground. Like they connect with other kids, they play tag or they play on the swings, and they like find their new best friend on the playground.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. That's accurate.
Pretty straightforward, simple interactions that create like instant friendships, maybe not lasting.
And what it is an environment of similar aged people, right? So that's like the other thing when you're in school.
Similar interests, because if you're on the playground playing and you guys are both like, we love the monkey bars.
Yeah.
It's your new best friend because you both love the monkey bars.
Right. We have everything in common. Everything in our life is basically the same. Yes. They like juice boxes. I like juice boxes.
I have a mom. You have a mom too.
What?
Done. Besties for life. Like, it really is like...
It's more complicated.
It's easy.
As you get older. Yeah.
Like, even just in like middle school into... Well, even my middle child's going into middle school. Watching the way her friendships are evolving is interesting.
Okay.
Then watching my son, who's leaving middle school and going to high school next year.
Okay.
Like, I'm just like, wow. Like watching the evolution of kids and
very
friendships
interesting.
But like, then it's like, as a kid, you don't think about it.
Right.
But also as an adult, if you want to make some new friends, it's like, it can feel really daunting.
Absolutely. Even, so like college also, right? That's when we're like more adult minded. But we're still surrounded by...
We're in school.
With people who go to university anyway.
Yeah, and if you're going to, like, if you have classes with people, sure, maybe in the beginning it's, like, general ed.
But there's also, like, clubs, and there's a million things to do on campus.
See, that's what I was saying. I feel like I missed out a little not going to, like, a full university.
Oh, yeah.
Because I went to Metro, for those of you in Colorado, you know what Metro is. It's Metropolitan State College of Denver. But Metro is just downtown, and like everybody goes there to take classes. So I worked during the day. I took classes at night or online. It was like the beginning of online classes.
Okay.
Makes me feel a little old.
Right? Yeah.
Like 2004, 2005, 2006 was like the beginning of online classes.
Yeah. It was so funny.
But that was college time for us.
Mm-hmm.
You guys maybe don't know this, but we graduated the same year from the same high school. So we're like same Z's.
Same Z's. We know each other.
But
from back in the day.
But yeah, so it's like I wasn't involved in like clubs or sports or anything.
You didn't do any
college.
like clubs? Oh, because you were working full time.
I was working full time. I took classes in the evening or online if they offered them, which was hard to come by at first. Yeah. But I had a lot of people who were random ages and random backgrounds.
Right.
And I didn't have that same like group. So it's interesting. Oh, do you have any friends from college that like you've stayed in touch with, or maybe were you just close during college?
We were mostly close during college. I kind of I've got one friend, but he moved away and also got married. I was also like still socially awkward in college too. I start things, right? Because if I want to hang out with people with like-minded interests.
Started a wine club. Start Colorado Mastermind.
Yeah. In college, I started an MMA club. And this is back before
MMA was like a thing, right? No, unless you were in like the wrestling world or in one of those specific types of
super niche group of us.
Right. Love MMA. I haven't watched MMA in a long time, but
it's fun. And so I started that, and that was like my group. Like we had a lot of fun. And then that kind of dissipated and everyone kind of went their own way. I was in a fraternity as well, like a sorority fraternity. So it was like men and women. So it's just a business fraternity. And I never got too close to anyone in that. But again, because I was also working full time, but my job was overnight. So I was like working overnight and early mornings.
So you were trying to fit in sleep.
Exhausted all day.
And or homework.
Yeah.
And your MMA club.
Yeah.
And then showing up to class.
Exactly.
So which is hard enough as it is sometimes, even with a full-time job and like being a responsible young person, man. There were days I was just like, I really don't want to go to class.
But it was still like there was enough to do. There was always something, like whether it was like an event or just something on campus happening, right?
Yeah. Where did you go?
UNC. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then after that, like my whole friend group kind of dissipated. And then I made one friend through work, and then I came back to Denver.
Because like that's my experiences with college, or were my friends at like CU or CSU, or like going to spend the weekend and hang out with them or whatever. Yeah. I mean, like my 21st birthday, I went up to my friends who lived at CU, and like it was a blast because we went around Boulder and had like college night out for like my birthday, my 21st birthday. It was
CU didn't
so
play.
Much fun.
Those parties were ridiculous. And like
my friend's graduation party, I remember that night. That was a blast. Boulder oh man, that was really the place to be for college. I mean, no offense. I know if anybody's listening, I know my Denver people listen. I love CSU too. No offense. I just think I have more experience personally with CU and Boulder, and
like I would go.
That stuff was fun.
I would go to parties at both, and CU was like a movie. Like it's like a movie party. Where there's people everywhere and it's chaos and like people.
CSU seems like way more mellow.
Yeah.
So a couple of times I went up there, Fort Collins. So for those of you out of Colorado, like those are our two rival schools. You got Fort Collins, you got Boulder. If anybody watches college football, you probably recognize both their football teams. Like they're both really great schools.
And then there's UNC that's like the problem child that no one really talks about.
I didn't have friends at UNC. Like I didn't have anybody close, so I didn't get invited to parties at UNC. So
they weren't very good. UNC. We would go to CSU for the most part. That was like if you wanted to have fun.
Yeah, because isn't it like
Collins.
20 minutes, half hour?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't that far from Greeley.
All right, we're digressing.
Okay, we are.
So
how to make friends now? Well, I think it's pretty straightforward though. I think
the moral is go to a college.
Go to a college, have something to talk about so that you can rekindle a friendship from high school. Like more acquaintance. I feel like we were like acquaintances in high school. Yeah. Like we were never like besties. We didn't hang out or anything.
I didn't hang out with anyone really.
No.
I had like two friends.
And I hung out and talked to everybody. So where do I meet friends now as an adult? Like, seriously, I remember a friend of mine posted on Facebook an article literally talking about how it's hard to meet friends as an adult. This was probably like a year ago, but I just remembered seeing that and going, it really is.
Yeah.
And I think like I have a natural built-in way to meet new people through my kids.
Right.
Just because if they make good friends, like I have a couple of friends that are parents of my kids' friends, but that's not always a perfect fit.
Right.
But I think that's a built-in way for me to find. But I feel like you have to get out of your house. I mean, you could meet online people. We talked about in part 1 how online people tend to be more acquaintances most of the time.
Yeah.
Because it's just, that's kind of the nature unless you intentionally create a deeper level of friendship. I think you really would have to be intentional online. But like then you have apps like Meetup.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if our listeners have used Meetup, but like Meetup is a really great place to go find people who are interested in the same stuff you are.
I was a really early adopter on Meetup. So, and again, I start things. So I started like a emergency preparedness group back, I think in like 2010.
Oh yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that was fun. But yeah, and even just going to Meetup, they have it for everything, you know?
Seriously.
So, like, pretty much
they've got like 30s and single, 30s and divorced, 30-year-old moms. There's one I actually joined because I was like, I want to hang out with like people who do crafty stuff.
Yeah.
Because I like to do crafty stuff. So it's like 30-year-old nerdy moms or something like for, you know, in my area, which I was like, it has nerdy in the title. Right. Like, I like them already.
Did you go to it?
Well, I haven't yet. I joined it like a couple months ago because I was just like, I don't know. It'd be cool to find some people to like do crafty things with.
See, the thing is, someone like you can go to a Meetup group though with a bunch of strangers and just talk to people, and you're just like, oh, let's find something in common.
Well, and the thing is, like the ones I'm most interested in are their craft meetups, but they're booked. Like that's actually like I think I signed up for the one in like July or something because the rest of them it's like 10 people, and I would guess it's probably the same 10 people that go. And you know, if it's somebody's house or something, they probably have limited space. But I'm like, I want to go to one of the craft things.
Yeah,
like
just gotta get in early.
Right. But I'm like, I also don't know that I feel prepared to hold it at my house. My house is always a disaster. I don't know. Like, it's interesting. I'm like averse. I don't want to have people over because really my house is just cluttery. Yeah. It's stressful to me.
I'm sorry that you're going
But I'm happy to go somewhere else. Anyway, but yeah, Meetup. You were saying TikTok had a Meetup thing?
So yeah, so I was going to say though, like for someone so like you're very social and you can just go to a Meetup and like talk to people and make friends or at least acquaintances.
Create like a connection with someone and potentially.
For me, it's a lot harder. So if I go to someone else's Meetup and I sit down and I'm like, hey, buddy, so you like crafting too, huh? How about that crafting? Super awkward, right? But that's why I prefer to start a Meetup because then people are coming to me and it gives me a little bit more control and balance.
Because you're like the authority.
Or just a focal point. So people have to come engage with me, you know? So
it keeps you from having to engage when maybe that's not your strong point. Because once you're engaged with, if there's potential to like get to know that person more, you're like, oh, cool. And it should be in theory easy to talk to them.
Yeah. But yeah, so TikTok as well. So other places, like if you have a interest or there's like a hobby that you have or like a Facebook group, you can start like, and you don't want to run like a Meetup group. You could initiate, like TikTok was doing it back in the early days, where we would all someone would host it. We'd rent out a park. One time we went to Dave & Buster's and it's like, hey, everyone that's on TikTok who is in Colorado, who's in this area, let's just go meet up and hang out. Yeah. And I actually made some good friends with the TikTok meetups.
It's interesting. Recently in like an ADHD group that I'm in, there was a thread talking about friendships and just that it's kind of hard for neurodivergent people to keep friendships because honestly, like a lot of times we're flaky. We're really bad about texting back or like those, right.
I'm out of sight, out of mind. That in the last one. But that's a big factor is like once I start building up a friendship with someone, if something else takes my focus, I just completely forget about them. And then all that social background, everything that was built kind of like fades away. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, it's like sometimes I don't forget people exist like in reality. Like I know they're there. Right. But like, yeah, I've been trying to talk to friends for like a couple of months, like probably like 6 months. And I've tried calling her, I tried texting her and she'll call me right back or text me. But like, for some reason we keep missing each other. And like someday, Ray, we'll catch up. I don't know that she would ever listen to this. Probably not.
Never
And
know.
it's just, she's someone that like I used to be more close with several years ago. And I just have wanted to like say hi and see how she's doing. But how long between did it take me to like, and she hasn't called me either. So it's not like, I don't feel offended. It's interesting because sometimes
busy.
my feelings get hurt. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
They don't. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you have a certain hobby, or if you want to have a new interest and you want to go take like a pottery class. I'm actually trying to get into a pottery class. My friend signed up for, it's like a pottery ceramics class or something.
Yeah.
And she was like, you should sign up with me. And I was like, that would be fun. But then I was like, well, I need to check my calendar because it's a summer schedule, whatever. And then when I went to go sign up, it's through like the city. And they're like, you can be on the wait list. And I was like, oh. So I told her like,
It's a recurring for you.
But I'm like, I should have just signed up because I could have canceled it if it didn't work. But
Right.
like, yeah, I have a problem making decisions.
Right.
Something I'm working on that's also an ADHD neurodivergent thing that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
But I have issues with decisions. But
So I think that's a good idea. Taking classes, pottery, dancing.
paint, like the
Painting.
sip and paints.
Mhm.
I mean, if you like to paint, I've never gone to go to one by myself, but I
haven't.
love that.
Yeah. Shockingly
Like,
fun.
It is, but I feel like too, I think a lot of people go to sip and paints with friends or family or whatever.
Right.
So
That's
they're
what I've done.
like, it's not necessarily going to be like a place to meet people,
Yeah.
but I'd imagine there is some opportunity there.
Mhm.
I don't know.
One thing that I did recently that I thought was a lot of fun. I was on a date and we went to a bar. This was up in like Longmont, I think.
Mhm.
And there are bars there. They don't have food licenses, so you can actually bring in outside food. And I didn't know that
Interesting.
was a
Their
thing.
bars don't have food. Like
Yeah.
that's like a big hindrance to the bars, but okay.
I mean, I thought it
Come
was
on,
great.
Longmont, get with the program.
No, because what I did was I just ordered some pizzas and had them delivered to me. And then I just shared pizza with like everyone. at the
Random
bar.
people.
Yeah. And that
So
was,
you made some new friends
it was
because
a lot of fun.
you're like, oh my God, I should order a pizza. You're like, you can have a slice. They're like, really?
Yeah.
And you're like their
I was
new
like,
favorite
"Hey,
person.
have some pizza. And then it was a very fun time.
Where
Yeah.
were you like when I went downtown? I mean, downtown, it's not the same, but
Yeah.
a few weeks back, I was so hungry and I really drank too much and did not have enough food. So,
Mhm. So things
life regrets.
like that, just like how can you add value to or fun to a situation? I think
Yeah.
that's a key for like attracting people
Yeah.
to you.
And what also like in your local area, like
Mhm.
I feel like Colorado, if you have any interest or are okay with walking, like there are 8 billion hiking groups in
Yeah.
Colorado. You could
Yeah.
go onto Facebook and probably find a group that goes on to different hikes all over Colorado.
Right.
So it's like if that's something you enjoy, which I feel like most of us in Colorado are like, if someone's like, yeah, would you want to go on a hike? Like I want to get some exercise and I want to go to this cool place in Castle Rock. You're like, sure. Like, I mean, maybe not you. if there's no tree chopping.
That's true. And I don't like, I hate hiking. Like I'll do it. And everyone that comes to visit, let's go hiking. And it's like,
never
I've done it
been
my whole life.
my favorite. Like it's not
So
my
boring.
first choice, but
Yeah.
like it's a really easy way to see some beautiful places.
It is. Yeah.
And we have so many pretty places here. We're
And
really lucky.
Let me ask you a question, because this is something I was just thinking about. So, when people post on like Facebook, they're like, hey, who wants to come help me move? Or who wants to come help me do this?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say it's someone that you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like specifically, or like maybe you're
Like
just
minor acquaintance.
yeah. How weird would it be to be like, I can come help you?
I think it's situational.
Mhm.
I think like if you're like, I'm available,
Mhm.
let me know if you'd like if you're not sure, it could be like, hey, let me know.
Okay.
Or even like, hey, I'm gonna DM you really quick. Like and DM them and be like, hey, I know we're just acquaintances. Like we don't and I wouldn't mind helping you. Like if you're like, yeah, I think that person's kind of cool. I don't know him on a deeper level.
Yeah.
But then it allows them to say, yeah, that would be so awesome. I would love to do that. I'll buy you lunch, whatever. Because most people that are moving that hopefully they
Hopefully.
buy lunch or
Yeah.
offer some sort of gesture of like, I really appreciate that you're here with me.
Yeah. So like kind of putting it in their court and say, hey, I am available if you want some help. If someone that you didn't really know put out a post that was like, hey, I'm going to have lunch at this place. I'm going to get a table. Anyone who wants to come show up.
I think
Would you go show up if it was like an acquaintance?
I think it depends on the person. I mean, it depends on my availability first and foremost, because there have been things where I'm like, oh, that would be really cool. Like where someone's like, hey, I want to go to this concert. And I'm like, I'd be down for that. Like,
okay, concert.
Random. Like,
it was like a nice
something, like maybe because I don't know, lunch could be cool. Depends on your level of like, how much do I feel comfortable talking to this person? For me, no problem at all. For like someone like you, big problem. But like if someone's like, hey, I'm buying tickets to this concert, like I'm just going to buy, lawn seats or whatever. Okay. And they're like, yeah, who would want to come with me?
Okay.
I mean, I guess it's just situational. Do I have an interest in pursuing potentially getting to know this person better?
Yeah.
If they're putting it out on Facebook, maybe they're lonely and hope somebody or maybe they have
just need someone like you.
Or they have three best friends and none of them want to go see like the Chicks or whoever it is they want to go see play. Okay. And they're like, oh, none of my friends like country or none of my friends like rock. Like, they're all into this and I'm not. But like musically, I want to go check this concert out. Like, I don't know, maybe then you end up with a concert bestie.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay. I don't know. But yeah, there's lots of ways I think to connect, but you do have to be open to having some of those awkward, potentially awkward. They're not always. Sometimes you can really find someone you click with.
Okay.
And it's easy to just chat if you have the right things in common. Yeah. But you have to be willing to be a little uncomfortable, I think.
That's fair. I think that's the key. Being willing to be a little uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right. And how much do you need it? Like, if you're like, I don't like to hang out, I don't need any new friends, like, then don't go try and make them. No judgment.
Okay.
That's
Teresa says I need to make more friends, so I'm here. So
I'll be like, who is Teresa your wife? No. She's my podcast co-host.
Co-host, and she said I have to come to your luncheon.
They'd be like, something is wrong with that relationship.
You should probably leave, sir. You're right.
Okay. On that note, let's take a little break.
Yeah. And then
listen to this little ad from our sponsors.
Yeah. And when we come back, we can actually talk about like kind of boundaries maybe even rekindling old friendships. Some of those kind of things.
Or like when maybe friendships have ended, or maybe you're in a friendship that maybe should end. Yeah. Like, because those are hard. So we want to talk a little bit about that too, in case you're in that position.
Cool. All right.
All right. See you right after this. This is a podcast for anyone looking to improve their personal, professional, or family life.
We craft these episodes so you can learn from or relate to our experiences and opinions.
And we'd love to hear more about you. So if you're interested in connecting with us further,
as well as other like-minded individuals,
we recommend checking out our creatively named Facebook group, Colorado Entrepreneurs.
You don't have to be from Colorado or be an entrepreneur to join, but it doesn't hurt.
Just go to facebook.com/groups/Colorado Biz, that's BIZ, and send us a join request.
Or check the link in the description and show notes below.
Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Yeah. It was the best ad I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm glad that it happened.
That's good.
Yeah.
We like good ads.
I think so.
Well,
mid-roll sponsorships.
Short little sponsorships that are like us. Talking about fun things. I actually get really over ads on YouTube. Like, I get really mad when I'm doing a workout on YouTube.
YouTube is infuriating.
And it's unpredictable as fuck. It's so, because like I did a 20-minute workout the other day and I got 2 ads in the middle.
It's
like
ridiculous.
Forced, like 30-second. I'm literally in the middle of a workout, you jerk.
Yeah.
And I'm not paying you, YouTube. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm completely there.
No, I will not buy you. I don't want to buy YouTube subscription. They're like, do a free trial. Nope.
No way.
Nope. I don't want to be on YouTube. I don't care. Like, so I get that they're doing ads, but it's like, it's just, I feel so unpredictable.
And it's not even like, some of them are like 10-minute ads.
Yes.
Right? So it's not like I can just be off doing
1 hour long ads.
Yeah. And it's like, how can you put an hour-long ad in the middle of my 20-minute like video about whatever Minecraft that I'm looking at? And if I'm like washing my hands or doing dishes, I have to like dry off my hands and like get everything done so I can like skip it.
The ad.
So frustrating.
Yes. So we hope you like our little short mid-roll ads.
Yeah. Short, sweet.
We put love into them. Thanks for being here with us.
Yes.
Since they are ads,
Yeah.
like they're little, but they're just us.
I'm like triggered now. I'm stressed
Okay.
in that situation.
Triggered. Okay.
All right.
Woosah.
Who's
Pull on your ears if you need to.
Speaking of boundaries, YouTube, have some boundaries with your ads. So
Okay.
when we're living our lives, right, we're going through and we've got all these relationships. What happens when one of your friends becomes that irritating commercial?
Who is?
How do you ad block that friend instead of a boundary?
You know what's interesting? I don't know if like I allow myself to get tired of people. Like I feel like, I don't know. I guess I don't see people often enough.
Okay.
But I also know that there's like definitely sometimes like I'll have a friend that I'm really close to for a certain period of time and they kind of fade off.
Mhm.
And there's been a couple of those friendships that I've tried to like rekindle.
Okay.
And some of them, sometimes a couple of times it has worked. I say like some of them. There have not been like hundreds or something. Like it's only been a few people.
Okay.
But I feel like sometimes like there's a reason we kind of faded away as friends.
hmm
Not because we hated each other or no big fallings out. Like I feel like I'm lucky. I guess I do have one friend that I kind of had a falling out with and I
Okay.
just don't want to be around her anymore.
Was it like a big falling out where you guys were like, blah, 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 and then like, blah? Or was it just like, blah, 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 blah?
It's more like we sort of stopped talking
Yeah.
and like we just like neither of us called each other for a while.
Yeah.
And then I actively don't want to pursue rekindling a relationship with this person because
hmm
I just like
yeah.
differing viewpoints. There's been some hurt feelings. There's been, but nothing like crazy clash or crazy like a specific moment in time where I was like, fuck you. Like, no,
Yeah.
there was not that. I think just over time, I'm like, I don't want to pursue that.
Right.
Like, but, and there is just like some hurtful things tied in. And it makes me sad sometimes because I think of this person because we were really, really close for a long time.
Okay.
But like, so letting go of that particular connection has been hard. Like over the
Okay.
last few years is when we've not been talking. And,
Yeah.
but I
So-
just don't think I will ever pick up and try to pursue that relationship
Okay.
again because I don't think I'm particularly happy in that
Mhm.
relationship, you know?
And it's definitely like, as we get older, our opinions definitely change and they kind of get stronger and everyone's got different experience. And especially in the last 2 years, like people have gotten rooted in their opinions on
Oh, gosh.
certain things, right?
Right? No movement.
Yeah, which is amazing to me, honestly. I completely would have thought it would go the exact opposite way where we all become more tolerant and like understanding of each other.
Almost like after 9/11
But it
in the
wouldn't.
United States where, well, except for the horrific racism that happened against anyone who was Middle Eastern, which, by the way,
Yeah.
that sucks. And I genuinely like, fuck all the people that treated you bad. Like,
Mhm.
for anyone listening who experienced that,
Yeah.
because I had a couple of friends who really felt that and it was terrible.
Mm.
But otherwise, as a country, I feel like in a lot of ways, people tried to support each other.
Mhm.
And you would think during this pandemic, people would try, but it's like, it was so
It went the
opposite.
other way.
And
Yeah.
politically, it's been so like
Mhm.
turbulent. It's just, it's icky. It feels icky and
Yeah.
it sucks. But yeah, then when you have differing opinions
Mhm.
from people who maybe you were close to, sometimes I feel like the gap can be bridged. And there are people who can have like, you can say, yeah, I really feel strongly about this thing.
Yeah.
And they can say, well, I feel strongly on the opposite side. And you
Yeah.
you can either choose not to talk about it.
Right.
You can be like, fuck you, I don't agree with you.
Mhm.
If you believe that, fuck off. I don't want to treat people like that. Like, even if I disagree with you, even if maybe this conversation or
On
this
this
thing.
one topic.
Well-
like it's you hold an opinion on this one thing. I hold an opposite opinion on this one
Well-
thing. And people will be like,
I think
I hate you forever. let's talk about pre-pandemic. Before everything got crazy and terrible.
before everything like imploded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have certain boundaries that you would set up or reasons that you wouldn't hang out with someone?
No, actually, I feel the pandemic opened up something for me around boundaries. I think I've grown a lot. I had a really rough couple of years personally outside of COVID and the pandemic issues. But I think actually I used to not have enough boundaries.
You would hang on to toxic relationships probably longer than you needed to.
I mean, there was the person I said I would not want to create, like, to continue.
Yeah.
Dan, there were a couple different points where he's like, why? Like, you know, he's just like, why do
and
you?
So you kind of separated from her post-COVID, right?
It was like, yeah, we stopped talking we stopped talking maybe a few months before the pandemic, like, fully hit and we were all home, bored in the house. I don't know why I think about that. I'm like, what was I doing? I was bored in the house.
In the house board.
In the house board. You don't watch TikTok. You just had to be on TikTok. But
someone will get it. So, yeah.
I think I didn't have enough boundaries in general. I think I think I've always been a people pleaser too. So like I'm extroverted and I want everybody to like me. I want them to be happy. So like, I think slowing everything down in my life, being like, oh, no more social calendar. Like there's no birthday parties for the kids. There's no anything for me. There's no, like, everything's just shut down. I think gave me space to actually see that, like, I'm happier. But what about you? What about you and boundaries? Like, have you lost friends or should have maybe created boundaries? Or
I think there's only one friend I would say that I had like a hard falling out with.
was it like a falling out?
It was definitely, yeah. And part of it is because we work together, but it's also his personality where he's actually very narcissistic, and I didn't understand narcissism before. And I was the same. Because I'm very loyal, and I'm very like, when it's my person, when it's my people, I'm there with them.
Yeah, it's like you have their back. You're there. Like, you'll do anything for them. They call you at 3 a.m. and need something. Like, you're like, I'm waking up. I'm coming. What do you need? Like,
and once you're in that like category, there's very little someone could do to like make me not like them.
Yeah.
And this, it was
I just got like full body chills because like I totally like that resonates really hard with me. Of like, there's something we were asking the question in part 1 about what is like a friend, and that's like to me like a lifetime.
Yeah.
This is like a human being that I genuinely love them and I would do anything for them. And
yeah. And so for me, it takes a lot for a person to get there. Right. So it's like, and not like necessarily because I'm like, I'm going to test you and see if you're like worthy. It's just, if we go through life stuff together, and like, I think people naturally stick around.
Yeah.
But him, so I had just a hard cutoff, and it's like, I was like, I'm done talking to you. I'm done doing anything.
So did you just stop? Did you have to like block him? Did you tell him, or was it just obvious because you had like a fight?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think there was one like big fight, and we drank a lot because this is how we did. But,
younger. Yeah. The younger days where you could drink more and have less consequences for it after.
Right. So I think it was one time I was like, you know what? I'm just done. Like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm just not doing this. And so I just totally stopped talking to him.
Yeah. I feel like people have a hard time with that, especially if the other person is still trying to pursue.
Yeah.
Like,
and that narcissistic personality is they'll push and they'll push and they'll push. Right. And like the more you get rid of them, the more they'll do to get a reaction. Right. And so you have to just completely cut them out, and like no reaction is the ultimate revenge to that personality type. Like, you can't argue with them.
No, because there's no, well, like I had a friend recently we talked about, and she had a friend who like they had kind of had a falling out, feelings were hurt, etc. And then her friend kind of tried to show up and start, but it's like her friend's like in a good relationship and they're going to get married and wanted this other person to be really excited. And she was like, I'm not though, because the last interaction we had, like, you were hurtful. And like, now that life is good, you want to call me up and be like, oh, be my bestie and talk to me about getting married. But like, she's like, I don't think I can resolve this. And she decided to talk to her friend about it.
Okay.
And try to like, just say like, look, I need to kind of resolve this. But her friend kind of didn't want to interact with that. And ultimately my friend just was like, I don't want to use anybody's names because it's not my place. Yeah. And But it was interesting watching that interaction because I know that my friend had a really hard time because she genuinely cared about this other person.
Mhm.
But
By
I was
not
so
acknowledging
proud
the
of
things she
her.
did wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
By not owning whatever had happened and really genuinely like caring that it was like my friend was like, this matters to me though. And I think
that's a boundary. And she
It's-
said, you need to acknowledge this if
Right.
you want my excitement and attention.
right, like we need
Yeah.
to look at what repairing this would be because for me, I can't just drop it. Like it's too hurtful
Yeah.
what happened. And when her friend kind of blew her off, her ex-friend kind of blew her off, she was like, I just don't think I'm going to respond to her text messages or
Mhm.
answer her calls anymore. And she really felt some sort of way. And I feel like that is how like the epitome of like an adult relationship that has ended.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's hard, especially when you really cared about somebody. And I feel like you said, it's like when there's like this loyalty, when you're like, I genuinely care about you. You
Mhm.
matter to me.
Yeah.
Like,
And you're still going to be a jerk. And it's like, just get out. Like,
right. Or I feel like too, if the other person can't take ownership like this, that example was perfect, but that's
Mhm.
also why I don't want to pursue the friendship I was talking about, because
right.
I feel that when there's a disagreement, there's no ownership on the other side. It's like always someone else's fault.
Right.
And to me, it's just like own some responsibility for yourself and your life, not just in our friendship, but like in your life.
Right.
Like if you mess up, raise your hand and go, I messed up.
Yeah. And actually, so that is something I might not like specifically test people on, but that is something I will notice as a flag. Like if I'm interacting in a group, like if someone does something wrong and
How do
they're
they,
just,
like-
how do they react?
Yeah.
Are they like, oh, I can't believe this happened. Oh no. Or like if simple example, if someone spills a drink on the floor, do they just walk away or do they clean it up? Right.
Right. Are they the person that will like throw something at the trash and it misses and they just leave it there? Like
Yeah.
those kind of little things like actually tell a lot.
Huge.
Dan was like, if only people would always return their grocery carts to the store or to the cart thing.
Huge flag
Like,
for me.
right. Because there are no, like, that is, Dan and I love this conversation because
Mhm.
sometimes it's just like you see carts all over. And like, if we're going to the grocery store, like, and there's carts everywhere, we'll literally both grab a cart and like, we'll use one and we'll put the other
Yeah.
one back because we're like, well, we're walking there. Like, and
Mhm.
it's because it literally, like, nobody is watching. How do you choose to behave
Yeah.
when there are literally,
And then-
you could have a grocery store person standing there looking at you and you could literally put it in the middle of like, like anywhere,
It blows.
and there are no consequences.
Mhm.
It's just how do you choose? Like, do you go those extra few steps? Do you go that extra mile?
Considering
Like,
you walked a mile in the store in the first place to get all the groceries in the
Right.
cart. And the like everyone's argument is like, well, they pay people to go collect the carts.
my sister used to collect carts. Like, I never worked at a grocery store, but she worked at Safeway when she was
Yeah.
like a teenager, and she pushed carts. And my sister is not some like big, huge person. Like, that is
Right.
hard work. They do
Right,
not
but
pay those people
They
enough. But it's
pay
still
them
courtesy.
to take the carts from the cart holder, the cart return, and get it back to the store.
Right.
It's our job to put it in the cart return because we took the cart, right?
Right.
And
we
it's
borrowed
like-
something from the store that made our lives easier while we were in the store.
And it's like, and so my example is like, so yes, they do pay people to go collect the carts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how, like, whatever your job is, like whatever you do, I bet you have customers and clients that do little irritating things that, yes, it's your job to file this paperwork,
But if they
but they
just did
misfile
that,
it or they do something that is
if they,
lazy on their part,
if
it
they
makes your
just
job
did
harder.
that extra step,
Yeah.
you're like, wow, I love that client
Yeah.
because they make my job easier. They make
Mhm.
my job pleasant. They're polite to work with. It's like exactly that. But I
Yeah.
think people just, I don't know, but
Blows me
and
away.
I seriously try not to judge people
Mhm.
who don't put their carts back. I don't know their life. I don't know if they just had surgery. I don't know if they have a baby in the car. But
There's
I
a
still-
million reasons not to put the cart back.
But and so I try not to be judgmental, but I also know I am like that person who always tries
Mhm.
to like do the right thing in those types of situations.
Yeah.
Like the
And
right
so-
thing, whatever that is. But like for me, the polite thing, the thoughtful thing.
Yeah. And so it's not like I would never speak to a person that doesn't put their card away, but I know that there's a level that I can't trust them.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like,
Any of our friends listening,
So,
any of
yeah.
my broad view, like if you were that person, like
don't be that person.
don't be that person.
You don't have to.
Like I'm trying not to judge you and to
So kind of the
But-
last thing to talk about is
Yeah.
like, is there ever like a catalyst or like a trigger or something that you see that makes you want to rekindle a friendship? Like maybe something that didn't end hard. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's been a couple of my friendships. I mean, and I feel like a lot of my friendships like have faded. Like I was talking about my friend Ray, I think, and the other one who we just haven't connected. Neither of us is trying like exceedingly hard because we
Right.
really could have at this point. But like I think both of us would love to chat and catch up.
Mhm.
Like, and our friendship has faded for different reasons. Like we both used to work in the network marketing company together. So we saw each other at events. We spent a lot of time together. We did some like a landmark program together. We like, or, you know, we had reasons that we were coming together. Well, then she stopped doing the business. She moved to the other side of the mountains, like whatever. So there were reasons that we didn't see each other and it just sort of faded.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like there's also a level of like, I would talk to her anytime. I love her.
Yeah.
And there are some friendships where it's like, I really like that person, but I just don't, I have tried to force the rekindling
Okay.
and I don't feel that it's ever worked out quite the, like it, I feel like if you're going to rekindle a friendship, if you're like, oh, that friendship faded and I really want to rekindle it. I really want to like be that person's friend again.
Yeah.
How hard is it for you to create that? If it's hard, if you call them and, well, but I mean, to me, it's like, if it's work
Okay.
to try and rekindle a friendship, one, do they want to rekindle it? Maybe, maybe not. If they're not super responsive, maybe they're busy, maybe life is going on. Maybe that's not the case. So,
Yeah.
but also two, why? Because if you're reminiscing about that time when you were 17 or 23 or 25 or whatever, and
Okay.
you're like, oh, I loved hanging out with that person. You're not the same person you were.
That's true.
I mean, literally our bodies, isn't it like 7 years that we cycle through cells fully and we literally
Yeah.
physiologically are a whole new person every 7 years or something?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and they say, think about every 6 months, you're a little bit different than you were 6 months ago.
right.
So like if you were friends 5 years ago, you just really may not have anything. Those same things are not the things you'll have in common necessarily.
Okay. So you would say you've like tried to reach out and it just didn't like take? Because I'll do that every so often. Like I get drunk and I'm like Facebook messaging all my
Hello.
friends. How are you doing? I miss you. I'm like the nicest, happiest drunk ever.
Yeah, I think
But-
too, though.
but often it doesn't
also,
go anywhere.
Well, and also it takes some level of effort
Right.
to reconnect with someone. But I think it has to be the right thing. And if the whim is like, I'd love to like have coffee or chop down a tree with you. Like, I'd love
Should
to
message,
like
do you have any cheap trees you need chopped?
see you.
Build a fence? No? No fences?
Crap. Well, next time you do, I would love to build a fence with you. Dude,
Yeah.
when we redo our fence and be like, David,
No.
you're going to come do our fence with us? But yeah, I think if it's reciprocated and if it is, I feel like, and I'm making this up, I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, you know, everybody's different, but I feel like if it's somewhat easy, great.
Mhm.
Maybe you can be friends again. Maybe there is something to reconnect over and it's totally worthwhile. And maybe they'll be your BFF for the rest of your life. I don't know. But I also think expelling too much energy. I love reminiscing. I am like, I love happy memories. They make me happy. I feel all the good, feel good. Dan is always like, why do you love thinking about the past that much? I'm like, I don't know. It's fun. Like,
Kind of your thing.
I enjoy it.
Mhm.
But like, I think sometimes that I love thinking about the past.
Mhm.
The past is not now.
Right.
And sometimes those things, like people are just different than they were sometimes.
Hmm.
So I think I would, if I had to really concisely say, I would not force it.
Okay.
If you have an interest, I don't think there's any problem in like, if that person and you just kind of faded off into the distance for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any problem being like, hey, I was thinking about you. I would love to like catch up at some point. if you genuinely mean that.
I think that's like the sweetest message to get, actually.
It's
like,
a very
someone,
warm fuzzy.
Yeah. And it like doesn't always go anywhere, but it is nice to be like, okay, this person was thinking about me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's like, especially out of the blue, I think it's a cool thing to get.
It is a warm fuzzy, but I think also other flip side, if you're the person who receives it and you don't know that you want to rekindle that friendship, I think it has to be okay to be like, you know what? Thank you so much for thinking of me. And
you're definitely more
life is crazy right now. Well,
you're more hesitant on this rekindling thing than I thought you would be. You're like,
I think that's because
so
I generally, like, seriously, if I think about friendships that have faded, or people that I don't even know if I'd call it faded, it's just life happened and like, or people moved away or whatever. Right. 98% of them, like, if there's anybody on here who has known me in a past life, we went to high school together, we were best friends in 4th grade. Like, if you listen to this, like, I'm pretty much down to reconnect. Cool.
Well, what's interesting is we're coming real close to our 20-year reunion.
Oh my.
Yeah.
We are. That's next year.
Yeah. Like in a few. Yeah.
Fuck you. I feel old now.
So I'm interested to see what happens after that.
The 10-year reunion. Did you go to the 10-year?
I was there.
Remember?
At the end. Yeah.
And well, I'm like, I probably saw you because I think I was there toward that end too. Yeah. I'm like, that night, I remember like Robert Yeager, if you ever listen to this, I still love you.
I owe him a drink because I forgot my wallet. Actually.
We were locker buddies.
Yeah.
YBYE. We were next to each other. But it's like, so I think it'll be interesting because I totally would go to a 20-year reunion.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens with that, what gets rekindled. And then we can look back on this episode, or we'll do it like a recap or something.
That would be fun.
We'll revisit it.
We'd be like, OHS 2003.
03? 03?
Oh my God. Okay. And on that note, I think we've wrapped it up. Is there anything else? Any final thoughts about friendship?
I think that this is your message, if you're listening to this podcast, to go message a friend that you haven't talked to in a while and say you were thinking about them and just see how they're doing and see if they want to chop down a tree with them. Yeah.
Or have coffee.
Or that.
Or if you're David, if you're David's friend, definitely find something fun for him to do. Be like, my computer is broken. He'll help you with it and you can catch up with him during it. Or not even my computer. More like, my systems for my business aren't working.
Yeah. And I'll help. You want to save time, money, effort, energy? We'll make it a party.
Totally. Yeah. Right. I think definitely. And also respect your own person. That's what I would say is respect your own personal boundaries, but like, be open. Be open-minded too, because if you have had a connection with someone at some point, they're probably worthwhile in your mind. So
yeah. All right. I like it.
All right.
Boundaries, rekindling.
Boundaries, friendships.
Friends. Yay, friends.
Cheers to our long episode. We had a lot to say about friends.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. Great to be with you guys. See you next week.
Thank you for listening. This has been the conclusion of our 2-part series.
And hey, congrats for making it here.
If you didn't happen to catch part 1, just go back to the previous episode to get the full story.
It was a really good one.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, please consider liking, subscribing, and/or reviewing us on wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Also, if there's someone you know who clearly doesn't know what the fuck they're doing and would benefit from this topic, please hit that share button and send them this episode.
Let's normalize the feeling of uncertainty,
asking for help, and admitting that we don't know
what the fuck we're doing either.